Prisoner first pries open a wooden panel on the wall, then takes out the mirror he had hidden, then breaks it with a spoon and picks out a long strip of glass. After this he wrapped the extra pieces in paper and threw them into the toilet. But before he could press the switch, the guards suddenly inspected the cell. In order not to be detected, the prisoner quickly threw the glass into his mouth, leaving only the residue in the toilet bowl to be disposed of. Fortunately, the two guards don't notice anything unusual, so when they leave, the prisoner takes out a toothbrush and a spool of thread, and ties them together with a mirror, thus completing a small observation mirror. In order to test the usability of the mirror, the inmates stuck it out through the cat's eye of the door, and when the image was refracted back through the mirror, they could not only see the movement of the guards, but also turn the mirror back and forth to observe the movement on the other side. After a brief test, they agreed that the mirror would be very useful for the next escape, so the inmates divided up the work. One inmate took charge of the lookout, another removed the leg of the bed and used it to chisel the floor, and the rest of the group moved the debris and pried the boards off the surface. Then he took the leg of the bed and took out the plaster. He then took the legs, wrapped them in a rag and began chiseling the concrete, in order to cover up the loud noise. Before the operation, the inmates had already conspired with the inmates in the next cell to break the toilet, so that as soon as they started to chisel the cement, they would repair the toilet at the same time, and the sound of the repairing of the toilet would cover up the sound of chiseling of the floor. With a few chiseling sessions, they were able to penetrate the floor without any danger. In order to verify that the sewer was open, the prisoners lit a piece of paper and threw it in, seeing that the fire was getting hotter and hotter, which proved that the tunnel was open, but they didn't know where it led to, so they had to wait until bedtime to go down there and find out what was going on. But before they could do that, they had to create two dummies out of cardboard boxes to fool the guards. As soon as the inmates pulled the rope, the boxes would mimic the movements of a human being and say hello to the guards. During the night check, two of the inmates will quickly hide in the blind spot while the guards open the cat's eye to make sure the cell is full. Looking at several people are waving and one covered with a quilt is wriggling the guards. Think that all four people are in the cat's eye without any doubt closed the cat's eye and left. After this test, the dummies they made could really fool the guards. When the guards left, the inmates immediately picked up the spoon on the table and unscrewed the screws on it, then pulled out the saw blade hidden in the crevice. With the tools in hand, the inmates lifted the hole they dug earlier in the morning, and the two of them went down in turn. The upper cellmate tied a rope to the stone and the other end to the ankle of his cellmate in order to collect information, and then covered the floor to ensure that everything was secure. After some exploration, the two men realized that there was a cellar down there, and if they wanted to leave through the sewers, they had to saw through the bars in front of them. Luckily, he was prepared for this, so he took out his hacksaw and started sawing. But in order to keep the guards from hearing the noise, the prisoners stopped every 15 strokes and quietly eavesdropped on the surrounding area. And will their escape plan ever make it out of prison?